Hey, happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to Pyragraph Live from the Albuquerque Press Club. I'm Peri Pacru, your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Pyragraph. We're an online creative career magazine featuring daily posts from working artists, musicians, and other creatives worldwide sharing their experiences, stories, and lessons learned. Check us out at pyragraph.com. This is our new talk show streaming, Pyragraph Live from the Press Club, the Albuquerque Press Club. You can call into the show, which is kind of exciting. It's 562-MIMOSA-5. That's 562-646-6725. In just a few short minutes, we're going to be talking with our uber fantabulous guest, Stephen J. Westman. He's the Curious Townie. He is the head writer and producer at 505 Faces. He definitely cannot be contained in any short bio or description. So we're excited to talk to him. But first, I'd like to talk a little bit with my co-host, Pyragraph's creative director, Clarke Conde. Hey, Clarke.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's our second real show and our third kind of show.
I think it's our fourth kind of show.
You count that first one?
That was kind of a show.
It was kind of.
I mean, when you're counting kind of shows, you can be pretty lenient.
Yeah, when you're on real TV, you probably have to really pay attention.
Yeah. So those are the shows that never were. Really, is probably the best way to describe those.
No, it's good to be here. It's exciting. We're in the Albuquerque Press Club.
Albuquerque Press Club. Yep.
A log cabin on the top of a hill. People have driven by many, many times. Have no idea it's here.
In sunny Albuquerque, New Mexico.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So what's been going on with you?
Usual Thursday kind of things.
Brandish. I love the Brandish feature. So tell our viewers what Brandish is about.
So yeah, Brandish, of course, is the weekly feature on Albuquerque creatives that
on Instagram.
Pyragraph's Instagram, and it talks about the tools that artists locally use,
AKA Brandish.
Exactly.
And it was a lovely photo. I was there for this one, and you guys were off, and there were some car lights pointing, and I didn't know what the heck you were doing, but it turned out beautiful.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out really well. And
Kevin Pierce. It's
a collaboration with contributing editor Josh, who is missing in action this evening.
I think he'll be here.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see him.
Yeah, it would be nice to see him.
Tonight, can I just say that normally we have Turtle O'Toole manning the AV dealings and matters, but today, Pyragraph contributing editor Jeremy Kinter is helping out. Hey, right. Jeremy.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
I don't think we can hear Jeremy, but that's okay.
We got to get a third camera.
Well,
to get Jeremy.
Yeah, we might want to do that at some point.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're working on that. That'll be next.
So I understand that you've had an exciting week. Mine hasn't been all that exciting, but I understand you've been doing some very critical, supportive things.
Yeah.
Things that,
it's the
as a
bullshit
patriot.
Work. It's the bullshit work you got to do.
Yeah.
I got my taxes done.
And these were your 2015 taxes?
No.
Oh.
This is 2014.
That was, if I remember, that was last year.
I know, and normally things are due the 15th of April. We got an extension.
Right.
I've got a complicated life. I've got a lot going on. I got the kids, I've got Pyragraph, and then I have self-employment income.
Right.
Now, I describe that, and I think many of our viewers probably will be somewhat similar, because when you're a self-employed person or a creative person, you wear a lot of different hats, right? Mm-hmm. I wear a lot of different hats, so I had to get my self-employment stuff in a bundle, Turtle self-employment stuff in a bundle, Pyragraph. And so anyway, I got it all to my accountant on Tuesday.
Right.
No, excuse me, Wednesday. It was Wednesday. It was after that seminar we went to.
Right.
We should talk about that.
Yeah.
And I felt so good taking it there and dropping it off. And the best part was he kept going through it and like looking at the things. And he said, I'm so impressed. This is so organized. He did. I don't mean to brag, but I'm just saying it was a really good feeling. Right. Because the fear is you go there and they're like, no. I'm going to need more
it's all just billable hours for them.
Well,
so
it's scary.
As disorganized as
it's
it
scary.
is, they'll organize it for you.
Yeah. So we got it done. And now he's working on it, and then next week we sign it off and send it off to the IRS. Nice. I'm hoping we don't owe money. Let me just say one thing also for creative people. I think other people might feel this too, because we've had a lot of like ups and downs with income, and that's a scary thing with tax stuff, because they usually base like your estimated taxes off of previous income. So I have no fucking idea. Like we're all over the place. I mean, I kind of know.
Right.
I kind of jest, but it could be anywhere almost.
Right.
So I'm a little nervous.
Well, I
but
think a
it's
lot of
off my plate.
self-employed people run into that issue, and,
Yeah.
and especially and freelancers and anyone in the creative field.
Yeah.
It's you have good years, you have not so good years.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
I'm organized. I mean,
Sure.
we really are, but it's still as hard. So
Sure.
anyway, we got it done, and I know other people. I posted on Facebook. I'm like, I'm so, and people are like, oh, I still got to do it, and I
Right.
felt I don't want to rub it
Sure.
in.
Sure.
You guys can do it too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that was cool, and yeah, and then we did that Google ad presentation the other day. That was the same day as
we
my
weren't
bookkeeping
presenting.
meeting.
We were just simply at a presentation
Yeah.
by Google.
We were learning how to get your brand out there using like Google ads and stuff
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
Did you learn anything?
Well, I did. I learned a few things.
You did.
I mean, I think the big takeaway out of that was the coffee maker I got. That was pretty great.
That's right. You won a coffee maker.
I
You won the drawing out
won the
of
drawing
what? There were 3 of us?
I think there was
4.
There might have been
There were
4 of
4.
us. Yeah, yeah. I was
Nice.
You know,
Good odds.
The odds are always in my favor, I find.
And you opened it. It was like one of the Bodum French presses.
I opened it up. It actually says Google on the coffee maker.
Nice.
I would have brought it, but
But bottom line, Pyragraph is looking to maybe spend a little bit of money on Google advertising. If any
Yeah.
of you listeners out there have advice to give us, call us up. Send us an email.
What's the number again?
It's 562 Mimosa 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's really great. And then you were going to say something about we talked about the ad things.
We did.
talked about the books. You were doing the books.
Well, that's the other big part of my week is I'm updating my books.
Right.
The Small Business Startup Kit and the Small Business Startup Kit for California.
Right.
I'm almost done.
Right.
I got the national one done, and I'm a little late. And Marcia, if you're watching, I'm really sorry. I'm really close.
Close, yeah.
I'm not drinking too many beers, I promise.
You jammed that other one out.
I jammed the other one out, and so the California edition needs to be updated.
This
and
is
so
your 78th edition of this. What is this?
It's the 11th edition of the California book
Uh-huh.
and the 9th edition of the national book. So it's kind of
That's
exciting.
great.
Yeah. So that's cool, and I don't know. We could talk about that
Well,
forever, but I know that you got something else on your thing too.
I do
It's
have one more
starting-
thing.
Yeah.
It's starting for me. It starts tomorrow.
It's a big deal.
and it is a big deal, and it's something I'm going to want to talk a little bit with our guest about,
Yes.
which he doesn't know about, but I'm sure he knows plenty about, and
Yeah.
probably been and has some insightful things to say.
Mhm.
So maybe we should just introduce our guest and
That sounds great.
bring that in at some other point here.
Okay, well that sounds great. Good to chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Catch up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're very, very excited to introduce our guest today at the Albuquerque Press Club. It's the Curious Townie himself, Stephen J. Westman. I would call Stephen a longtime fixture in the Albuquerque publishing scene, the cake making scene. Anywhere else fun and fabulous people congregate, you will find Steve. I've known him for a really long time, back from the Alibi days.
Wow.
The Alibi days. Anyway, welcome, Steve Westman.
I'm
Welcome.
happy to be here.
I'm really excited to have you on.
That's
I love
you.
your shirt.
Thank you.
You're the head writer and producer.
505 Faces, yeah.
Of 505 Faces,
Project
which
that started back September of 2013.
I just saw you guys on Civic Plaza
Right.
during 24 Hours of
Right,
Art.
which was such a great event.
Don't you
by
think?
the way. Awesome.
It was
Awesome
pretty great.
venue down there.
I had a great time. It was great to see you.
You know, just seeing all those faces. It was pretty cool.
Right. With any luck. Now, we were kvetching before because you sent me all these beautiful photos and Facebook
Right.
broke them up into all.
Right.
See, this is what real people deal with. Okay, so with any luck, our
Right.
crack team over there might be able to pull up some photos during
Right.
this half hour. If you are, awesome. If you're not, go to what? Facebook.com.
You know,
what is it? 505 Faces?
505 Faces on Facebook, but also 505faces.com
Thank you.
is our website.
There you go. So tell us a little bit about the project. 'cause-
So, for those who don't know, and I think there are quite a few who still don't,
Sure.
Wes Naman, photographer here in town, has made a nice name for himself as a really good photographer. He kind of got kicked into the stratosphere with the Scotch Tape series.
Totally.
In September of 2013, he gave me a call and said he had this idea about a book and traveling the state and getting 505 portraits and 505 stories. And he knows I know the state, and he knows I like to write about people
I
around the
can't.
state.
You would be the very first person I would call for
it's-
something like this.
It kind of happens that
Yeah.
way. But within a month, and you know what? You were the fourth person to know about this project.
Yeah.
We sat down and had a little meeting
I
with
remember.
you about
I
how
felt
we
like
could do
I
this.
was in the know
I
on some
know,
top secret makings.
But by October 18th, we kind of went public with it. And during the process, I thought I can't be the only writer, and so we brought in Hakeem Bellamy, Gwyneth Dolan, Justin De La Rosa, and Dan Mayfield. Colin Troy came in to help us with design and media stuff. And by May of 2014, we hit the road in a 40-foot RV, and we hit 20 towns in 30 days with a huge kickoff starting. So there were actually 21 towns. But at the rail yards, the day the rail yards opened up. And
I was drooling over that RV. That was a really nice RV.
You know what? We had great sponsors along the way, but Kelly and Seth Steer, who are old family friends of mine, letting us use that RV for the road, made it perfect.
I want to just interject. So I know that we have, maybe one or two viewers from elsewhere outside of New Mexico, and people in New Mexico know. But people should understand that not all the projects that happen in New Mexico start with RVs.
Right.
I just want to point that out in case some of
really
because there's a lot of misconception
mandatory.
about that.
I know,
here.
and it was a thing we discussed.
Sure.
But it was the only way we really could make sense of the way we would do it is we would pull up to a coffee shop in Socorro for 4 hours. And myself and one of the writers, one writer was with us every 4 legs of the road. We would pull up in a parking lot and we would interview the people outside, whether they had reached us beforehand, knowing through Facebook and all of that, Twitter, that we were coming, or whether it was a barista on his way into work.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They would tell their story to us, and then they would go inside the RV, and Wes and Joy would take care of, which I need to reiterate, Joy Godfrey, Wes Naman, myself, we were the 3 team members that started this together. And they do the photographing there. So we needed a photography studio on the road.
Sure.
But we really did think about that.
Yeah, I bet.
Issue.
So what was the time of year for this?
It was May. It was a perfect time of year. And I plotted out on a map how we really should go. Because I'm a lifetime New Mexican.
Yeah.
These two, they're New Mexicans. They're more transplants. But yeah, we would do 4 cities, 4 days, and then we would take a break. 4 cities, 4 days, take a break. And during that time, one writer would come and join us and go home.
I was going to say the writers would rotate in, right?
They did.
Yeah.
And, and it was really interesting watching. By the second day, they got into their groove. By the second day, most of them were crying because of something that somebody had said to them. But in the end, we came back with these great stories, these great photos. We had done a campaign where people helped us get on the road, but we also had some amazing sponsors along the way. Futures for Children, EB Enterprise Builders, the Harwood Arts Center, Tammy Had a Good Sign, Sister Bar, All Is One Tattoo, Tubers, Evolution Piercing.
Awesome.
They really helped us get on the road,
Sure.
along with friends and family that just got online and sponsored.
Awesome.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the process, 'cause,
Right.
that's what we talk about mostly,
Right.
And I'm interested in, as you're going through, and you obviously you're at the point where you've got the material that you need.
Right.
Were there throwaways?
What we had decided was 5 stories per town.
Right. So there are edits.
There are edits, and each writer really had to determine which was their best interview. And as the editor of that, every story I got was like, wow.
Right.
And what I didn't really understand is the photographers didn't know anything about what we had heard, but it seemed to be captured in every photograph.
Okay, so the writers and the photographers were not. It was like, here's your one thing. You did this thing here. Now you're going to go.
Exactly.
Okay.
No interaction.
Interesting.
But,
was that intentional?
It was totally intentional.
Okay.
But Joy talked about she could tell something in these people's eyes because some people opened up a vein and told us stuff. I cried almost every day somebody told me something. I remember when Gwyneth Dolan lost it, when Justin De La Rosa lost it. You get this stuff.
Sure.
So we're in
and they're really cynical people.
Stop it. Well, maybe one of them is. Stop it. I didn't say that out loud.
I'm joking.
So we've been in the process ever since then of putting it together. And I want to put out there to the public, we are pretty much ready next week to start online the reservations of the book.
Yes.
we talked about this a little bit earlier. It's not that it's a little expensive to print a book in New Mexico if you're doing
Right.
it yourself. We could have gone
It's
out of
expensive
state
to
and done
to print
it.
a book, number
Yeah.
one. I mean, it just is.
But there were so many options to go out of state and get it done in a more inexpensive way, in a bigger form. But it was about New Mexico, so we really had to have it printed
Right.
here. And that's what the delay has been a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But we're ready to go.
Print projects, I mean, you got to get it right.
Yeah.
You've put so much into the project already. It does not make sense to rush through
Right.
the actual production process.
And a year later, I'm calling some of these people that we've written about and checking up on them.
right.
Some of them have already left the state, but their stories are so good, they'll stay in
They'll
there.
stay.
And everybody's still alive. There were a couple I thought might not be
Wait
here
a second.
anymore.
Everybody in your book
Yeah.
is still alive.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is really wild because when I did my book, I did a book back in 2011, and not even by the time I had the book in production was everybody that I had shot alive.
Wow.
Yeah, and there was 365. It was a 365 project, and not everybody was alive.
Health
And
status in Rochester might be a little
Rochester, New York's different than
I don't know.
throughout the
Just
state of New Mexico.
Possibly throwing that out
We're
there.
on terra firma here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was interesting to kind of look back and see, people's jobs were gone, buildings were
Right.
gone,
Right.
places I'd shot were gone. And this is just a small city. This isn't an entire state.
Yeah.
And these were all people who were working at the time. So
How did it feel, though, to find out that somebody was gone that you had in the book? It's got to sting.
it's just the law of large numbers.
Yeah.
That's why I'm really surprised that you've been able to be in contact with all
Right.
these people and they're not.
Right. There's two I've been worried about.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I keep checking.
I mean, I'm not trying to run anybody down. Or,
I know, but
wish them,
I just
wish
knocked
them
wood that by
dead.
the time
I'm not sure if our
we're out
I'm not
in
sure if
November.
our
Right.
live from the press club table is actually made of wood,
I-
but
well,
you can
It sounded
you
like
can certainly
wood,
knock on it.
So
yes.
I did.
So before you started working on that project, I know you were involved with the Local IQ,
I was with the IQ from the beginning. Local IQ magazine, around for about 8.5 years.
which is a great publication, and I was sad to see it
I
go.
still mourn it every day.
Well, being a publishing person, honestly, anytime any local publication goes down, it makes me a little sad because I would like to think Albuquerque can support a thriving publishing
Right.
industry. But anyway, you wrote a column, The Curious Townie.
Curious Townie.
For that, and you're continuing now.
I
What
am.
are you doing with The Curious Townie?
So,
Tell us a little bit about what that is.
The Townie really took off. Mike English, our editor,
Yes.
put together these great columnists.
He's at Business First now, right?
He is,
Yeah.
and very helpful to me still
Awesome.
to this day. People didn't want the Townie to go away, and I'm working with a designer and a web guru, Mo Koenig and Roanna Waldron down in TRC. They're getting ready to get me up online. I'm working with a
Nice.
very creative guy, a publisher
Nice.
here, Mark Hartman.
Yeah.
And the outpouring of friends are like, it's coming. So, to quote the outfield, the Townie's been on a vacation very far away.
Well, you need
Nice.
to need to refill the well, I would imagine.
It's coming
and
back.
it's a new format. So
It's a whole new format.
Tell our viewers what the format was in the IQ.
So basically, I'm a boy that grew up in this town. As you said, I kind of
You're
know
like a
everybody.
local's local. You know everybody.
I know what's going on, and my thing was very personal. Sometimes the butterfly effect of the way this town works. Who's doing what. The second year I started focusing every other issue on nonprofits and what they're doing, because I think you really want to know where your money's going
Yeah.
with a nonprofit. But I also love that human interest story of Kyle Malone, who I was at the hospital when he was born. He's in the Squash Blossom Boys, but he's
Wow.
got this whole big wood thing going on.
Are you serious? You knew his parents or something?
I did.
Get out.
His uncle is one of my best friends from college.
No way.
So
I only met him really, because I know some of his other band
Yeah.
members, and we only met recently, in any meaningful way. And he's so wonderful and smart and cool. And we talked so much about his Big Wood Comb Company.
know.
I love the Comb Company. Kyle, the invitation. We were talking about him contributing. He's perfect for Pyragraph.
he is.
They make beard combs.
Yes,
out
I
of
remember this
beautiful,
conversation.
It was great, and I want to hear more from him. So I love that, his phone.
Yeah, and so you get to talk about that, but when I'm not just talking about this cool thing he's doing, I get to talk about the legacy of, I chaperoned him to the Kiss concert when he was 13.
Nice. Very nice.
Bizarre stuff like that.
I love it.
The way Jessica Eves Matthews and I have crossed paths forever, but we never made a connection until we sat
Right.
on the studio of the early morning brew.
Right.
There's a coolness about this town when you get to tout what your friends are doing.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
what strangers are doing too. So I'm excited to get it back online. It's going to be completely, really, people have been pushing me and reminding me what needs to be done.
That's
and
cool.
it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be.
Well, I think I was just talking today. I was doing an interview with this guy for KUNM Radio. He was talking about the creative economy, and I was talking a little bit about how much I love the creative community here. It's incredibly supportive. It's you epitomize that. I mean, you know so many people, and you're incredibly supportive with what people do, and this town really is that.
Yeah.
I mean, take an example. I started playing music out when I was 40.
Right.
And I had been to a lot of people's shows, so I think people knew I was a music lover. But I
Right.
don't know. I was people just were immediately supportive and helpful and helped me get more
Right.
shows and and I just find that to be a cool thing. I don't know if that would happen in every city.
It doesn't. I mean, you look at, you and I met when you came here from Wisconsin in
Yep.
the early 90s to start
Yeah.
the Alibi. And then you and Turtle and I are working in the
Exactly.
office for
La Costanita.
La Costanita. And years later, I'm in your kitchen all the time dropping off cakes.
Dropping off cakes.
How has it been with you acclimating into this town?
Well, I went to UNM. I was
Right.
here for a decade, left for a decade, and came back. And it's we're getting signals. I'm not sure what those signals mean.
I love our team.
We got a good team.
I love our team.
Albuquerque's great. Albuquerque's absolutely fabulous. And,
Right.
And I can't say enough great things about being here. People have been very supportive. The wonderful thing coming from a Rust Belt town about coming into Albuquerque, and I hear people say, "Well, small town," that Albuquerque is, but the difference is, when I talk to someone, when I meet someone, I don't know what they're gonna say already, and that's the thing that happens in Rust Belt towns. If you've been there a while,
Yeah.
you already know everybody. You already know what their perspective
Right.
is, and there isn't any influx, and there isn't
Right.
a resistance to you being there.
Well, then to take the extreme other example, having lived in California, where everybody's a transplant,
Right.
which is interesting. You never, ever meet anybody who's from there.
Right.
But here, I don't know, it's interesting. I've heard these things, because Pyragraph, we did a colloquium recently about the creative economy.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've been just talking about these things amongst ourselves and in that workshop, how can we get creatives employed better? How can there be better opportunities? How can we get the creative industries going? Sometimes I hear, creatives don't want to move here because there's not enough culture. And I that kind of drives me crazy, because I love the culture here. And I think the people there's a great music scene here. The art music, there's a contemporary art scene
Right,
here.
right.
And I'm not even talking about Santa Fe. I mean, Santa Fe's got its own thing too. This great thing just happened in Taos, the Paseo, which was a lot of contemporary art. There's so much stuff happening, and it's all very accessible.
It is accessible.
It's very accessible, and so it kind of kills me to hear, creatives don't want to move here. Not to mention, I think there's creatives here ready to work. I don't think the problem is that we don't have creatives ready to work. I just think there aren't enough
Right.
really robust businesses to
Right.
hire them. To me, that seems to be. I see all these people are underemployed.
I've watched an explosion the last few years, though.
Yeah.
It's been really cool. I met you on a sidewalk with Peri, but
Within view of my studio,
Right.
if I
That's
recall.
right.
That's right.
but-
Central Grill.
over the months, I've really watched you kind of acclimate yourself. You've made a nice niche with Pyragraph.
Yes.
You're everywhere I go. I kind of love how that happens.
Right.
It's an inviting place. It really is an inviting place, and
Yeah.
And I think one of the great aspects about this town is that you're able to actually freely move around,
Right.
And it's not as divided up as, and you can check my published works and my thoughts on Rochester, New York, but I couldn't be happier about it.
Hooray.
Yeah, absolutely.
That stuff makes me happy.
Yeah, me as well.
Which is a great segue into the last thing, because I know we're trying to wrap these things up, but there was one thing I wanted to talk to you about, because, as a native, I'm starting in on this project, which it's starting tomorrow, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to approach it. And so, through no fault of my own, I've been issued a press pass for the Balloon Fiesta.
Right.
And I'm not quite sure what I'm
Good
going to
luck.
do with it. And so I've got an idea, because how do you photograph the most photographed event in the world, right? How do you do? So I'm going to cover the food and fashion, of course, which I think would be the most important thing to cover.
It's beautiful, actually. Because it is
you Google it and you look at Google Images and there's not one photo of a human being.
Right.
I mean, there's truly not a photo of a human being or food.
Right, or
a turkey leg
there's
is not
and
in there.
there are I mean, to think that we have the most photographed event in the world. This is not the Olympics, this is not the Hajj, this is not, Paris during this isn't the World Cup. This is the Balloon Fiesta. And having, I'm a food photographer,
right?
And
very good, by the way.
Thank you. And
we've worked with Sergio, we can say.
I know. And so, in trying to see what the food is and trying to see what the fashion is, I'm really looking forward to some of the outfits that some of the attenders will be wearing. And I just wanted to see if you had any thoughts or advice or tips or maybe a prayer.
A prayer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hats.
Yes.
With pens, and there's a lot of applique sweaters.
Yes.
Steve Stucker's a fixture.
Oh.
We love Steve.
You know I love Steve Stucker.
We'll have to share the photo.
You're going to have a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lesson in sociology with the way people dress for this thing. And that's not a criticism to everybody, but people like to get dressed up. They like to show their balloons. They like to...
Yeah.
I want you to show some well-dressed people, too.
I will.
It's always sensible shoes at the Balloon Fiesta, though.
Yeah.
Sensible shoes.
No spike heels.
You think it's always sensible shoes? I'm going to focus and find out if it is.
I love the women that are holding on to their husbands or dates or girlfriends. I covered everything, didn't I? Who were in those heels and had not realized what they were going
And they're
through.
like, oh, sinking.
I'm going to make a particular point of checking that out, and that's something we'll be having on Pyragraph as we go on.
Because we have a very professional AV team. They're telling us to wrap it up. This is a podcast. We don't have broadcast rules, so I'm thinking between 6:30 and 6:35 we wrap up.
Yeah.
6:30 and 6. So we have to wrap up.
Okay.
Yes.
Any final thoughts before we close? Give again how people find the 505 Faces Project.
Follow us on Facebook or follow 505-faces.com.
Cool.
Next week we are going gangbuster with
Sweet.
letting you reserve it.
Pyragraph would love to help cover this as well.
That'd be
I mean,
great.
in the past we've talked and we continue to want to support you guys. Wes Naman as a photographer is fabulous, of course,
Yep,
and you
he's
can
great.
follow him at wesnamanphotography.com.
Yeah.
Joy Godfrey, an amazing photographer
And
in
she's
her own right.
She's doing her own thing right
She
now,
does
too,
amazing
and she's
stuff.
Beautiful photographer.
Absolutely. Does she have her own site?
She does, and just look up Joy Godfrey.
Joy
You'll find it.
Godfrey.
I wish I knew
Yeah.
the site.
So we will continue to track
You
and
guys have
share
always
news.
been so good with us, and that's always appreciative.
You guys are lovable. What can I say?
There you are.
I love my Pyragraph of tools.
It's just a love fest here at the Albuquerque Press Club
really is.
for live at the Albuquerque Press
It
Club
is.
with Pyragraph.
Thanks
and,
so much, Jeremy and Turtle.
and thanking the sponsors.
Thank you so much to Steve.
Cheers, everybody.
Thank you so much to Clarke.
Absolutely.
It's really fun to co-host with you. Before I take a sip, I'm going to thank our Pyragraph sponsors, Albuquerque Game Developers Guild, Music Go Around. I always like to thank our team, Sage Harrington, our managing editor, our contributing editors, Josh Stuyvesant and Jeremy Kinter, and our creative director, Clark Conde. Huge thanks always to Turtle O'Toole, our main AV guy, our contributing editor at large, Eva Avenue. Can't wait to get you back onto the show. Come back next week. Next week, we actually have a guest booked. We're booked a week ahead. It's Len Romano of Ripe Inc. Who doesn't love Len?
I adore. Yeah.
We all love Len. He's
There we are.
amazing.
I want to come down to watch that night.
Will you come down?
Yeah.
Please come down. Len Romano next week, and we're excited. So tune in Thursday, Mountain Time, 6 p.m.
Sounds great.
And here's some more tales from the creative front lines. Thanks, everybody.